today because she's preaching in Todmorden, and one of our volunteers has sacrificed today to go with her and support her as she preaches there. But she does send a love both to you and Pastor DeMaby. What an honour. How strange this is. It's almost surreal to be standing here this morning after it is 3 years, and we were back in the other. It's strange that you maybe got taking up the other building above Smith's. I remember the first time me and Louisa came over to Preston to a meeting. There was yourself, Pastor DeMaby, there was Joanne, there was Paul Royals, there was Jane Pratt, and there was Louisa and myself. 6 or 7 of us sitting in a little circle praying that this church would grow. You certainly did a good job. You certainly did an amazing job. So thank you so much. What a privilege. What a privilege. What an honor to be standing here today. And it's just too wonderful for words. I'm going to introduce my team to you, and in no particular order. This is Tracy. Tracy lives in Preston, and Tracy's been coming out. When you saw the pictures, Tracy's been coming out with me on the streets of Blackburn, where I'm a homeless pastor, and she's been coming out and helping with what we call the soup run. Sometimes it's hot dogs, sometimes soup. And yesterday was such a hard day. We had an onslaught of men who were mainly drunk and intoxicated or on drugs, and it was a tough call, let me tell you. It was really hard work, wasn't it, yesterday? But, Tracy just picked up this tiny little, it's like a little diamond. You can't see it. It's like a little diamond, and she saw it glistening. And do you know what we're about when these guys come at us out of their heads, drinking, just wanting? We're looking for the diamond, because every now and then, one of them comes along with God's mark on them, and we see it, and we say, this is the one, come on. And it's true, isn't it, Tracy? And within yesterday was tough, but the last 2 Saturdays, we met young women, one on each Saturday, and within the week, they were in safe houses and being looked after. That is it, yeah. This is Chris. What can I say about Chris? He's awesome. He's one of those diamonds, aren't you, Chris? And he's been with Dave right from the beginning. I call him, really, he should be sat there because he's Dave's right-hand man. But hey-ho. This is Gary. Some of you have met Gary before, because he used to, 196. You came to the other place a couple of times. Gary's going to share his testimony. Gary's done his training. We have an intensive training program when you sign up with us. And Gary's completed his training. He's now a homeless pastor in his own right in Bolton. So that's Gary. My captain, I salute my captain. This is Dave Forcer, a visionary. You got this. Dave's a visionary. He's a man of God. He's a heart for Jesus. He set up one of the biggest charities in Halifax when I met him about 15 years ago, called Happy Days. He moved on from Happy Days. By the way, that charity is still thriving. And he set up the Homeless Pastors, which we now call the Light Group. And he's just an amazing guy. And he's going to take this all over the UK for certain. And perhaps and further. We've made inroads into America, Uganda, Nigeria. Yeah, I can say that, can't I? I think we're right on there. This is Cleon from Wales. This is another diamond. One of those diamonds that you come across when you're digging out, when you're at the coal face, digging out the coal, the black stuff. And then you get to the diamond. When I met Cleon, he was in Elisha House Recovery Centre, and I was asked to go there and do Bible studies, and only one man turned up, and it was this one. And we used to sit in, it was more like a cupboard, wasn't it? It was like a little cupboard that we sat in, and we just studied. We studied John that year, didn't we? And let me tell you, for me, it was one of the most beautiful times I've experienced, those few hours we spent each week in the cupboard looking at That cupboard was an anointed place. This is Karina, who I've only just met, but Karina's getting involved with us. She's got another diamond, actually, one of the diamonds. And Karina's not sharing today, but you did share. I heard your testimony. I met you 2 weeks ago, and she has an amazing story. And if you want to hear it, talk to her afterwards. This is IndyCar. IndyCar, I'm going to have to go with it really quickly. So earlier this year, I went to Nigeria. Anyone here from Nigeria? One or two. I was in Ibadan in Nigeria, where I have a ministry there. So I've got to, you know the drill. You've got to go to, I had to go to London to get my visa, 11 a.m. So I thought I'd catch the overnight coach from Burnley to London. I'm stood at the bus stop. There's IndyCar and his beautiful wife, Bimley, stood over here, and the bus didn't come. Didn't come. And I'm pacing up and down, where's this? Like, so I'm not at my best. I am not, nobody's watching, nobody can see me, you know, I'm not at my best, I'm angry, I've got to get to London, I'm going to Nigeria, do you know how important I am? and I realise I'm going to have to get a taxi home, wake my wife up, get my car, drive to London, and I just looked at this man and I said, listen, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to London tonight. Do you want to come? And he looked at me and he looked at his wife and he said, and they went, okay. We got there, we did it, I got the visa, I went to Nigeria. His wife rang me up 2 days later back in Burnley, and they're now IndyCar, and his son worked with us. IndyCar signed up to become a volunteer with us. That's amazing. It's just too good. So we're going back to, you know, Jade and Andrea have just signed up with us. Jade's just about to fill her. Come on, this is your own people. Jade's just filling in her application form. Andrea's done hers. They were out with us yesterday. Wasn't it a tough day? I mean, that was hard. Don't be put off, Andrea. Remember the good days. Remember the good old days, Pastor Ellie. So, the week before, Andrea and Tracy, more or less, they did it, yeah. They led 8 people to the Lord on the streets of Blackburn, which is like, that's what we're about, you know. We have, I think, and there's Gina, who's partnering with us. I'm getting to, and met you here, actually, didn't I, Gina? And Gina, if you've not heard this lady's presentation, her testimony, and it's absolutely mint. Another real diamond. In fact, the old tiara. The old tiara over there. So, gosh. So I need to tell you what we're all about. The Light Group is a Christ-centered ministry that's passionately devoted to reaching and supporting individuals experiencing homelessness, addiction, mental health problems, mental health challenges. Yeah, and we just go out there and meet them where they're at. We strive, and we do strive sometimes. We strive to bring hope and transformation to the most vulnerable members of our society, to our society. You know, we meet people who have no hope whatsoever. This summer, 5 people died within a 2-week period in Blackburn, people who come to our table. Many of the men and women who came to our table yesterday will not make it. And that's not a prophecy. That's just facts. That's just they're fueled by their addiction, their alcoholism. Lots of them have got, they don't want to change. They've accepted that lifestyle. And once you accept it as yours, well, addiction ends in prison, mental health hospitals, or death. One of the 3, unless you get that hope. Because we're the hope bringers to those who have no hope. And we bring that light out onto the streets. We talk about Jesus. We give our testimony. And occasionally God brings one to us and says, this one, Nigel, this one, Tracy, this one, David, this is the one. and we see miracles happen, and that's wonderful. We've got a short video, haven't we? Yeah, can we play that now?
A movement is rising, calling us to sit with the broken, to help them to stand, and to walk beside them, to call the homeless friend and brother, to share food, build community, and love without condition. Only one path will do, the Lord's path, a path of kindness, forgiveness, and love. Come and join us. Bring light into the darkness, hope to those we've known, and healing for the brokenhearted. Your will be done.
Well,
A
that's
movement
us.
is
Yeah.
rising.
I'm going to ask Tracy up first, actually. I was prompting my team and I got that wrong. Not all our volunteers have been addicts. Tracy, as I said, was from Preston. She supported me tirelessly on the soup run on Saturdays in Blackburn for nearly a year now, and she's just a great asset. Tracy, would you like to share your testimony? I'm going to leave you to it. You're on your own, girl.
Thanks, Nigel.
Jesus.
Hello, church. Hi. Okay, so I've been asked to share my testimony. And, well, I just put a few things down, so please forgive me for reading my notes. But I've been a Christian now for nearly 30 years. Okay. And I've always had a heart for the homeless. I never really understood why, but I used to buy pasties and a hot drink, even from being a new Christian. But I didn't understand. It just felt right. It just felt that it was right. And I found that I loved people and I loved Jesus. So God was getting me ready. He was getting me ready for a purpose. Something was brewing inside of me that was bigger than I could ever imagine. I didn't have a clue why or what, but he was doing something. Yeah, and I just didn't realize it at the time. So God gives us experiences so we can understand and care. So we adopted 3 children, myself and my husband, from a background of drug abuse, crime and neglect. And at first, everything was wonderful. We were the perfect family. 3 beautiful children, and mummy and daddy that adored them. But then came to surface all the issues that had been affecting them, that they'd seen, the trauma, the neglect, everything that had happened to them. And I didn't realize that was an experience. That was something that God was showing me, that I was going to see drugs, I was going to see issues, I was going to see trauma, and I didn't know that at the time. So my oldest son, he chose to sofa surf, and he chose to sleep in an abandoned old nursing home. Why? Because he wanted that life. He wanted that life of doing what he wanted, when he wanted, to take what he wanted. And we couldn't do anything about it. He went to prison. He served at Preston. He went to Preston, and he was there for 3 years. So I didn't understand why that lifestyle, why all that. But God was on his case. You know? And he came out of prison and he gave his life to Jesus. And life is so much different now for him. He's got a steady girlfriend, they've got a baby on the way, he has a full-time job. And you know what? Life is different. And it's because he gave his life to Jesus. Because somebody cared and helped him. You know? He served his time. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Bear with me. Okay. So, God knew all the children before they were even conceived. And he had a bigger plan than we can ever understand. So you might be going through things, going through stuff. You know, it took me nearly 30 years to understand, and I still don't really understand what my purpose is. But there is a reason. And we might not know it at the time, but God is in control, and he does have a plan and a purpose for each and every one of us. It says in 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3, if I speak in tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. And in 13:13 it says, and now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. So, for me, it's all about love. It's all about the love of Jesus. We carry Jesus in everything we do. Sorry if I get emotional. I do it every time. I'm like Dave. I get it every time. So, why do I love homeless pastors? It's an honor to meet so many people, to help them with their needs and with a warm bowl of soup or a brew, to give warm clothes, to pray for and love on the lost, to guide and lead people to Jesus, and to pray for the needs, to be a shoulder to cry on, and to listen. A lot of people forget to listen. To support them into rehab or a refuge. Every week is different. Sometimes it's prayer and salvations. Sometimes it's feeding and meeting needs. All are precious. All are a part of God's plan. Yesterday we had so many come in for food, drinks and warm clothes. Many had prayer, and other groups joined us in giving the love, compassion and blessings. The week before we found 8 people that gave their lives to Jesus. That's 8 parties in heaven. Yeah, give it up to Jesus. Yeah, the team are so precious. With the love of God, all working for one purpose, to share the love of Jesus. And now I feel Jesus' heart breaks for those people who are in so much need. All they need is love and compassion. And our heart breaks for them. So we go out there and do it.
Well done. That's it, isn't it? It's that compassion, it's that love that fuels us. And like, this work can be so tough on you. And there can be so much disappointment as we lead people towards rehabilitation. And then at the 11th hour, they say, Nigel, I'm not going, I can't do it. And it's like a sinking feeling. But do you remember the prodigal son when he came home, the party, the celebration, and the lost sheep, when the shepherd comes back with that one that was missing on his shoulders, singing, full of joy. It's just that one person that God gets hold of through us, through the work we do, and then there is a party in heaven, and then there is a celebration, and then it's all worthwhile again, isn't it? And you forget all the disappointments and, tough stuff, just for that one. And that's why we do it, isn't it? So, let me just tell you a little bit more about the kind of things we do. Yeah. So David piloted the Light Group in Halifax in 2023. Yeah. It grew, and we now have homeless pastors in Halifax, Leeds, Bradford, Nelson, Blackburn, Burnley, Bolton, Southampton. We're making progress in the northeast, and soon, very soon, as from today, in Preston. So come on. Come on. Each homeless pastor then recruits volunteers who begin their training. They attend monthly sessions on Zoom, run through Leeds Theology course, run through Leeds Theology College, I should say. And the course we do is called Ministry in the Margins, and it's run by the Reverend John Swales from St. George's Crypt in Leeds. Some of you may know about that, the amazing work that they do there. They equip us to deal with the challenges that will surely lay ahead, that do lay ahead once you go out on the streets. We also have training in first aid, de-escalation techniques, drug and alcohol awareness training, and all volunteers are trained in delivering 12-step groups, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, those kind of groups. Each homeless pastor runs weekly community groups which focus on addiction, mental health and faith. And they're just a really good space where we can pick these guys off out of the soup run, invite them to a midweek group and start getting to know them. We're a place where they can start sharing, opening up, and they can start receiving that love that comes through Jesus. They're really good. On completion of the course, volunteers become homeless pastors in their own rights. And that's exactly what Gary's done. And I'm just going to ask Gary to come up now and share some of his testimony. Thanks, Gary. Well done, mate. Sorry about that.
It's all right. Good morning, church. You all right? Yeah. I come from a life of brokenness myself, you know. I was sexually abused when I was a little boy. There was a lot of violence in the home, you know. My mum got battered into a coma. I never ever knew how to fit in, you know. Even at school, you know, they probably class people with ADHD now, you know. But I didn't know, because for me it was like, you know, I was trying to escape the world I was in, and I never ever knew how to escape from that. You know, and I suppose when, you know, people came along that were using drugs, you know, I just thought, hey, you know, as soon as I took that drug, everything just went, you know. I felt good, I felt confident, I felt able to deal with life, you know. And up until that point, you know, I never ever knew how to deal with life, because I was always, you know, that broken, scared little boy. I tried committing suicide many a time, you know. Like, no, just little scratches, you know, like proper, you know, like I want off this planet and I want off this planet now. You know, I went through every drug you can imagine, you know. I don't think there was a drug that I ever left out, you know. I wanted to just seek oblivion, you know. Drink wasn't really a problem, but I did drink as well, you know. Various prison stints, you know, mental health hospitals. I was on the street myself. I was one of these guys, you know, as well. I was broken, lost, lonely, confused, didn't know how to fit in, you know, all that sort of kind of stuff. When I was in prison, you know, my cousin used to pray for me. I didn't know until when I got baptised that my cousin had been praying for me for 28 years, you know. He never ever gave up on me. I knew about God, and I always put God in a little box, you know, and thought, you know, okay, he'll hear my SOS calls, you know, I can go to him and everything will be all right. But I never knew Jesus, you know. That was who I wasn't living for. Whilst I was in prison in 2019, I had enough, you know, like, you know, I just, you know, I was, you know, everything was just coming to a dramatic end for me, you know. And that's when I cried out in my prison cell. I was like, look, Lord, see if you're up there. I says, you love me. I says, please come into my life, come into my heart. Show me your love, show me, turn my life around. Do whatever you need to do, man. I'm here. I want you in my life, And two days later, my cousin had been praying for me for the 28 years, he came up to prison and visited me. And he was asking me, all the questions he'd been asking me about all my prayers that I'd been saying to previous, And I was like, how do you know all that? You know what I mean? I was like, did you have somebody standing outside my cell door listening to me or something like that, And, he's like, Gary, it's God. He wants to know what you've got to do in your life. And I was like, I haven't got a clue. You know what I mean? I actually thought as well when I accepted God Jesus into my life that I thought that was just it, How wrong was I? I didn't know that you had to get baptized. I didn't know all of that sort of kind of stuff, And, I come from a person that I hated myself so much, I hated the world, I hated authority. I didn't know love, I didn't know what love was, I thought love was maybe going with a girl and having a nice time and all of that sort of kind of stuff. That was my, probably that was my, I don't know the word, but, vision of love, But, the walk I've been on so far, Jesus has been so good to me, I thank him so much. That attitude of gratitude each and every single day, the moment my eyes waking in my bed, it's like I'll never forget what he's done for me, I love him so much, because he's completely turned my life around drastically, And now he even cured me of cancer as well. I had cancer, and I was to get chemotherapy, got prayed for, trusted in the Lord, that he's a miracle worker, and no chemotherapy, nothing. I'm free of cancer. I've got a newborn little baby, I've got a wee girl at 13 months, that's just such a little blessing, I've got 4 other children, and I was needed as a dad for them, because drugs were more important, my wee girl's got adopted when I was in prison, and, it's such a blessing just to be there for my daughter, just to be physically, mentally, and emotionally there for her, to meet all her needs, because, that's the most important thing in life, is just to be there for them, and it's such a blessing, But yeah, my heart's for people like myself, people that are struggling, people that have been through addiction, people that are on the streets, mental health, suicide, all of that stuff, because nobody's too far gone. Everybody deserves a chance, you know what I mean? And I just feel, that the world needs love, because the world is so, bad these days, it's getting worse, and we need to be that light in the darkness, we need to be out there shining that light for Jesus, you know what I mean, to let people know, that he's still alive today, and it doesn't matter what, you are still worth it, you can do it, he can do for you what he's done for me, and I'd just like to thank homeless pastors as well, for the honor and the privilege, but more so Jesus, because he's the one that deserves all the glory, for anything and everything that I've done.
Smashed it. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary. Wow. So that is summed it all up there, and that's what we're about. God said to me a few months ago when we were going out, he said, expect miracles, and we started to see miracles. And we're seeing like mini revivals breaking out. We'll get to that in a minute. I've got an actual picture, but we're seeing kind of revival on the streets. And that's good for the churches, isn't it? Because where are they going to go? So I want to read you our mission statement, if you like. So just tune into this, because this captures exactly what we're about. And then after this, I'm going to invite Dave Fawcett, our founder, up just to talk a little bit more about what it means to partner with us, because we are looking, we'll be looking for volunteers to go out with Otis in Preston, but we'll talk about that in a minute. That's, thank you. So our mission is the Homeless Pastors exists to get people off the street and into beds. develop supportive communities for those living on the margins. And that's not just drug addicts and alcoholics, it's people suffering with like severe mental health problems who just can't cope, who are living out there on the streets. It's people who've been in the armed forces who are suffering from PTSD, who are living out there on the streets. It's children coming out of hostels because they're 18, or, and they've just nowhere else to go. We reach out to the marginalised, to the broken, to the lost, to the used, to the abused, to those that are suffering. We offer opportunities for individuals to encounter the transformative love of Jesus. We're building a nationwide community, and it is now nationwide, of compassionate, committed, and experienced people who deliver effective outreach and support to rough sleepers and those in need. Additionally, we are dedicated to equipping churches through our comprehensive volunteer training program, and it is comprehensive. This program is designed to empower congregations with the tools and knowledge needed to effectively serve vulnerable adults in their local communities. And if you want more information after that, then do come and speak to us after this meeting. We'd be really happy to sign you up. I've said, I've talked about 12-step recovery groups and our light groups. I've talked about how we go out upon the streets and on outreach and meeting the homeless. And when the light group, when Otis starts as homeless pastor from this church, is going to be looking for volunteers. So if you do consider it. Do consider it. You'll be joining a great team, well supported, and you will be trained. So I say this to you, church. Gird your sword upon your side, you mighty ones. Amen. Clothe yourself in splendor and majesty. In your splendor, ride forth victoriously on behalf of truth, humility, and justice. Let's go out there and rescue some souls. Amen. Amen. Thank you, David. What is that?
Thank you so much. So, all you need to know is I love Jesus. I will do whatever he wants me to do. And I feel God calling us to, as an organisation, not just to work in the UK, but all over the world. And I have no idea how that's going to happen, but I tell you what, we have enough faith, and I have enough faith to believe that God will provide. Amen. God will provide everything that we need. We've been short of nothing. When I was back in Happy Days, we had no houses, and this was a charity that was running. We wanted to provide supported housing for the homeless. God gave me 68 flats worth £2 million for nothing. So when you talk about God providing, we've been through situations where he provides. We just have to wait, and we have to follow his Holy Spirit. So in 2013, I'm washing up at home, minding my own business on a Friday afternoon. Washing up. I've not done it since I bought a dishwasher. I'm washing up at home in this small sink with all these pots, and God audibly said to me, "Homeless pastor." And I'm like, whoa, what was that? So I ran outside. I'm thinking, I'm looking over the fence. I'm looking down the street. Who's just shouted homeless pastor? And then I'm like, it hit me like a brick. God had spoken to me to become a homeless pastor. So all I'm doing is following him step by step. So in Luke 10 verse 2, it says, he told them, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers. This is exactly where we're at. We are seeing, in the last 12 months, we've grown into 40. This will be the 14th city. How does that happen in the natural, without Jesus Christ, without the Holy Spirit? How does it happen? It's impossible. You can't grow into 14 cities. It's not possible. So now what we're going to see in Preston, we're going to see an uprising of people, of followers of Jesus Christ, who are going to stand up and they're going to raise a sword and they're going to bring people into his family, into his church. We're seeing 10 people a week give their lives to Christ in the different areas that we're working in. But it's not just a case of saying a few words. What we want to do is disciple them. We want to help them to understand what God is all about and lead them into church. So, such an exciting time. We start today in Preston. And to God be all the glory, everything. To him be praised. In Jesus' name, amen.
Come on, church. Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that absolutely brilliant?